Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and to every nook and cranny receiving the signal from our 100,000 watt transmitter going directly into those magical boxes known as radios and, of course, AKA the Howard Reynolds machines. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard those of our international listeners or wherever you are listening via El Internet, the internet formerly known as ARPANET, created by whom? Created by you. Even as the billionaires have taken it over and profiting immensely from it. But you know what, folks? With the real revolution, we will take it back. Let's move on to the genius, the geniuses in the studio with El Señor Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Bebba.
It's smooth jazz, baby, on KPFT. I'll do my best, Barry White, here for smooth jazz. Just a way to wake up and join our friend Egberto. Egberto, it's exciting today. We got smooth jazz all day long. Every day, all day. Smooth jazz, KPFT. How'd you like that?
Oh man, I tell you, ladies, that ladies, that is your what is the name of that gigolo again? I can't remember his name. Richard Gere. That was the voice of Richard Gere.
Yeah, there we go.
El Gigolo. Anyway, what's up, my brothers?
Yeah, somebody called in yesterday and said, "Hey, I really like the smooth jazz you're playing." And, at the
Rosa.
In between Democracy Now. Was it Democracy Now or no? You and Democracy Now. I slipped in a jazz piece called "Honey Dipped" from Dave Koz, and she apparently liked it and called in and told Jack, "Hey, I really like that smooth jazz you're playing," and well, we do too. That's why we play it.
I love it.
Jack says he's got a real barn burner for us today, and it's a full page of knowledge and wisdom, all from the mind of Jack Van Bebber. So let's get to it.
That's why we love ourselves some Jack.
We do. Right.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
All right. Executives beware. When the fictional character Gordon Gekko announced to the world with the real vampire capitalist hiding in the shadows, knowing the entertainment industry was delivering their message, greed is good, giving way to the instructions that the executive's top responsibility is to create profit at any cost to the shareholder, has sent them down a path to their own destruction. How long do you think these citizens are going to put up with corporate abuses like denial of health care that results in the death of a patient to prop up profits for the insurance companies that are clearly scamming the public with the permission of government? What happens when there's a Luigi Mangione on every corner? Maybe the executives, CEOs, politicians, and their lawyers need to work in a little compassion into their policies or face what they've created.
There's a growing fan club for Luigi. I mean, people are sending him money for his defense and saying, and somebody who was it arrested? Who just got arrested on Facebook for making threats to another CEO. This one was Red Cross Blue Shield.
Right, so right.
Used, and I've even seen a stencil on the side of an insurance building saying the same three words. So we're pushing back. I mean, it's gotten to such a point where society is now pushing back on them, saying, "No, you're killing us. Stop it." This was just an example. I mean, maybe 3 or 4 of these things. I don't know. I don't advocate for it. I don't, but I understand it.
I am glad you brought that up, because the piece that I read yesterday, last night actually, that really put it into context was a piece written by Phil Wilson titled "The Madness of Luigi Mangione." So I'm going to read some excerpts from that and put some interpretation on that. But I think you nailed it. Both of you nailed it, right? It is.
The real shame is that our government allows this scam to happen.
Well, they endorse it.
Yes.
They endorse it, Jack. It's like, oh yeah, you can do that.
So this is about as fascist as you can get with a corporate and government together fleecing the people.
This Medicare Advantage thing, right? What a lot of folks don't understand. I have a good friend. He calls in all the time about how much he loves his Medicare Advantage, right? I love this guy, but a lot of times, what a lot of us don't understand is that the way things are packaged, they're packaged in such a way that enough people of the right kind like it, so that they become the defenders of an evil that affect many, generally the ones who can't fight back themselves because of many reasons. So, these things are well designed, well set up, psychologically done. In this article that I'm talking about, they're going to use John Brown as an example of what happens, how the corporatocracy takes back power by, again, making the I don't want to say hero, but for lack of a better word, I won't call it hero, making the person that was bold enough to try to do something, to say we can do something about this, look as if that person is out of scope, that person is mad. And the reaction we're getting, yeah, exactly, right?
Exactly. They're going to demonize him for this deed. This deed was pretty bad. I mean, I got to say, it was pretty bad. But when you push someone to the limit, when you push a society to the limit, a few of them are going to say, hey, wait a minute. I'm going to take this into my own hands and be a vigilante and make an example out of this CEO. And he did.
You just made the article, a point in the article that I found myself guilty of as well, right? Whenever we talk about Luigi Mangione, we feel like we first have to put that caveat in. And that caveat that says, oh, yes, what he did was bad. Oh, yes, what he did was ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. And then we make the point that we really want to make. And we all fall into that category because, especially with the responsibility that we have, all three of us here on the radio, where we are reaching a whole lot of people, we have to make sure that we can never be accused of somehow generating that which is complete, generate bad things happening. So we have to be careful in the way we speak, right? And
it's called responsible journalism is what it is.
Exactly.
And there's so many that don't do responsible journalism, but I'm not going to name names, but we all know who they are.
Right.
They just don't do responsible journalism. We say, yes, this was a terrible crime. We understand that. We know that. We would not have done that ourselves, but this man did. Just like the guy who crashed his plane into the IRS office. Mm-hmm. The guy named Joe.
Yes, I remember.
He crashed his plane into the IRS office because he had had enough. They had harangued this man to no end. And he said, okay, my life is not worth living because of you guys. So I'm going to fix you.
Right.
We don't endorse that. We don't say, hey, go rent a Cessna and crash it into an IRS office. No, we don't do that. But we understand when it happens. Yeah, we understand it. We know why it happens.
Yesterday, most of the media while they acknowledge that this guy has sort of become a folk hero, what they do at the same time is they try to make the people who are, if you will, anointing him or whatever they're doing to him, they try to make those people feel like there's something wrong with them. They are doing a very unethical thing. And, the mainstream media, for the most part, is coming out and really hitting up the people who are showing understanding for what this kid did, right? Let's be clear here. This kid grew up with means. This a rich kid, went to an Ivy League school. He doesn't really or would never really have to suffer the indignities of what the middle class and the poor had to suffer for healthcare, right? He will never have to really suffer that because that family is worth millions, if not more. But there is something to say about somebody who didn't have to go through. They can say, oh, he was looking and trying to be a hero, right? You kind of look into some of his background. I don't know that he needed to have a hero syndrome in as much as, because he's not a bad looking guy. He was in shape. He's athletic. He's intelligent. And apparently he didn't have a problem with, the other side of it. So that's not it. You wonder, I would really like to talk to this guy, to be honest with you, right? But look, what gets me is that when somebody unalives somebody, it shouldn't matter who you are if the unaliving was unjustified. What am I saying? Why don't we hear from the mainstream media? Why don't we hear that our healthcare system, because of the leaders in our healthcare system, because of the bribes in our healthcare system, actually unalive people? To put it nicely as I can, it murders people. Why? Because we know that if somebody needs to pay a bill, if somebody needs to have a particular medicine and they don't get it and the doctor says no, they need it and they die, who has unalived that person? The leadership of that healthcare company. And nobody wants to be we are, but mainstream media doesn't want to be honest about it and say that what we do actually kills, and unjustifiably so. So, we got to get real. It seems like we already have some calls, so it looks like I don't even get to read the beginning of this yet, but I'll read it in context of the calls if they're relevant. So let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny. Well, I guess Johnny will be here in a little bit when we get a little bit. There we go. You're on, Johnny.
Okay. Well, that was weird. Normally on these headsets I hear the but who knows? So, theoretical good morning to you. And this is why when you talk about that guy who plowed into the IRS building in the middle of the daytime, I, on the other hand, would rent a Cessna and focus my ire where it belongs, on one individual, Rick Perry, in his bedroom late at night while he's fast asleep. So you minimize the casualties. Him, maybe his wife, but that, to me, that's acceptable collateral damage. Whereas that guy, when we later find out months and years later that he had a lot of racist thoughts, for him, the added inducement, the cherry on the top, if you will, was that he got to kill a whole bunch of what he thought to be black people, because everybody knows the black people, they get those government jobs, those same government jobs that the white racists in the Republican Party were after in competition with Kamala Harris. So there's another aspect too.
But before I want to answer your first thought first. The first thing first. By the way, I have a gift for you today. I have a gift for you, Johnny, today.
Winning lottery ticket?
No. Here's a gift. After you brought up the story about Robinson, okay? Mondale Robinson.
Mondale Robinson, yeah.
Well, the war between Mondale Robinson and TYT, I went ahead and called him up and I said, hey, he was really, really busy yesterday. And I said, hey, look, man, I'll talk to you whether you're on the phone, in the car, whatever, but I need to talk to you after a listener supporter of mine told me what went on. I want to know the whole story. And he said, okay, Egberto, I'll call you as soon as I am at a stopping point so that we can actually get an interview. You know, he's the mayor of Enfield, North Carolina now as well. So, so I went,
because of ignorant people in this country too.
Right. So I went ahead and I interviewed him. So later on today, I'll play that interview for you. Okay. So that's your gift. You are the one who called it out. You made me aware of the issue. And I went ahead and did something about it. So thank you about that, because the story turned out to be much more important than we thought.
And I want to thank you for making that effort, as you always do, Egberto. You go above and beyond. And that's why you, as far as I'm concerned, are a national treasure, even though the nation doesn't know about you yet, maybe.
Well, I appreciate you for that, brother. But tell me the second part that you wanted to talk about.
There's a second part to the story that I think is important to remind everyone. When we are socialized as young kids in grade school, on through high school and all, and we see Hollywood movies, and we're exposed to advertising, and we're exposed to what the teachers tell us and then what the media tells us, like in my case, in the Roman Catholic school, we're taught, thou shalt not kill. And they drill that into you. And it makes sense. They give you all the reasons why and the teachings of Jesus. And I agree with Jesus. Whether or not he was magical or whether he was just a mortal guy, what he said makes sense. And so I try to live by that. At the same time, there's also this conflict that they create in us when they say, oh, those people on the other side of the ocean, they're doing naughty, and it's time for you and your friends to report to this building and get a physical, and we're going to teach you how to kill, and you're going to go over there and do what we say. So it's mandatory killing, and I see a big contradiction in, not you, I'm talking about in general, the media, and of course, government agents, people elected in the legislature and the executive branch telling us when it's okay for us to do that, because we're not acting alone. We're doing it with everybody else. To me, that's a big problem.
It is absolutely a problem. I mean, and it's the same thing with the insurance companies. Whether you call it an army that goes overseas and kills, it's also an insurance company sanctioned by our economic system that is also sanctioned to kill, right? In other words, kill for a profit. They won't lay that. And you remember about 3 days ago, I did a piece where I said narrative is important, right? As long as we don't look at what capitalism is doing to human beings, we can actually call it a good thing, because it builds big buildings, big freeways, buildings that the builders can't even go into after it is built. I mean, people don't get it. Everybody, we have the peons support. When I tell people most Americans are antiseptic slaves, irrespective of race, hue, or anything else, people get mad. You know, remember Brian one time got irate when I said that. I'm no slave, because suddenly he felt like, oh my God, I'm down to the level of black people, I mean, that's how a lot of folks look at it. And it's like, what are you telling me? And I'm like, look, it was always that way. Even when we had slavery, most of the majority populations were antiseptic slaves then too, but they were gradated in such a manner that because they felt there was somebody that could be spoken to as being lower than, that was acceptable to them. It's the same way I look at how women voted, how women, specifically white women, my white sisters voted for Donald Trump, because in the minds of many, it was like, okay, I'm not the patriarchy, but I'm right under the patriarchy. But if I go for this other woman, right, suddenly I am no longer in the pecking order that I was before. And people don't say it in their minds the way I just said it. It is just bred into us that way. That's when you mentioned about the guy that ran into the IRS building turned out to be a racist and all these other issues. I don't even hold that kind of stuff against, you're going to hear the conversation between Mondale and myself, but when I say I have a whole lot of racist friends, etc., right? And people will say, "What the hell are you talking about? How can you say that?" I understand the mechanics of America and West, and why that had to come into fold, and why so much of that is within the fabric.
Brian,
go ahead.
This is why we need to remind Brian that you have some, and you said it, you have in your own family, your own biological family, you have some people that are Republican. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's racist adjacent. You don't have to be a white guy, a theoretical white guy, to be racist in that way.
Racist, exactly.
We understand the definition of racism is primarily institutional. It can go beyond that now, and we've seen proof of it over and over and over again, what money can do to a person regardless of their skin color. And that's another reason why I, as a theoretical white guy from Queens, New York, will stand up for you when Brian or any other right-winger talks down to you in an illogical, unchristianly fashion. We have to have each other's backs. And so I will call that guy who plowed into the IRS building, I will call him worthy of punishment. Whereas I would, on a jury for this Mangione guy, I will tell him, go do a good life, no jail time for you, but learn the flugelhorn.
Thank you, my brother. Hey, look, thank you, Johnny. I got to go to Bard, then I'm going to play the video for you. Let's go to Bard. Come on in, Bard. Brother Bard, you're on.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
I'm good. I have a different perspective too on this shooter. What I heard was the United Healthcare CEO was headed down to New York to testify against Nancy Pelosi. That's an interesting sideline that I haven't heard the media say anything about. I wondered if you heard anything about that.
No, I haven't heard anything about that, but that is far out there. I mean, the conspiracy theories that some on the right come up with I find astounding that smart people like you believe it. I think you're pulling my leg here, but I mean,
I am not pulling your leg, Egberto.
Bart, I love you, brother, but I think you're pulling my leg, man. You just wanted, hey, Bart, you just wanted to see what you could get out of me, my dear brother MAGA. You wanted to see my reaction was going to be, didn't you?
No, sir.
Come on, man. You know that's it. I'm going to have to talk to your A&M daughter and tell her, look, young lady, I'm going to have to kind of slap your little daddy around, okay? Because I know she doesn't think like you, brother.
Let me go to my second point.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what you were just talking about with Northern Johnny about the election.
Yes.
So 99% of black women, 99% of them voted for Kamala Harris. Now, does
not
that make
really. Wait. Let's get the numbers right. It was more like 92%, but go ahead.
Well, it's either they're racist or I don't want to say the other.
No, please say the other word. No, say it. Say it as long as it's not a word that doesn't belong on radio. Say it because I want to answer that question for you. Go ahead.
Well, I don't understand the thinking that the white women voted for Trump, so they're racist, but the black women voted for Kamala, so they're
okay.
They're just smart.
I get it. No, I get it. And you know what? It's important. It's so important that you made that you brought out that point. Why there's a distinction that most black women voted for Kamala and most white women voted for Trump. That is, and trying to call me out on that is important. And let me explain. Black women vote for the Democratic Party. Whether, in fact, black women were the high. First of all, let me correct something. The thought that black women can be a swing vote is ridiculous. The real swing vote in this country are white women. What black women are the ones who always support in general what's best for the country based on their votes. And one of the reasons that is the case is most No, listen. I don't. Please don't laugh.
You just lost me right there.
Wait. Bard. It's important that what we do is listen. Like I made sure to listen to you.
That's what I wanted to ask. Could you say that again? Because you just lost me. I think
Okay. Most
you said
black women in the aggregate always vote. Their vote always reflects what turns out to be best for the country. And there are reasons why. And the reasons why are they are the ones that suffer the biggest angst from a misvote. Let's give an example. Having a Donald Trump, having at this point in our history, Republicans in Congress or the White House is a clear and present danger for most. That most people don't see that most of the angst that they're living through is a result of Republican policy, is a failure not of, let's say, black women, etc. It's a failure of the progressive media to really go out there and educate. Something that the right is much better at. The fact that the right wing can have an intelligent person like you, and notice, I have no doubt that you're a smart person. But some of the beliefs that you are able to qualify, I mean, it blows my mind. But it's not only you. I am in a long conversation right now with the executive of a company that we're having this sort of conversation right now, and it makes you wonder. But Bard, the lines are starting to fill up. I have a 13-minute video I've got to play. Let's have this conversation further tomorrow. Okay, brother?
Thank you for taking my call.
Always. All right, and welcome aboard Eric, Drea Parat, as well as Glenn Ryan. All right, let's go to Patrick real quick.
Yeah, well, before we get to Patrick, I did a little fact checking here on this. USA Today says that a spokesperson for California Representative Nancy Pelosi said the claim is false on that. There was no evidence that an insider training investigation into the former House Speaker. There's no information. There's no credible evidence there. And it says much less Thompson was scheduled to testify against her that before he was killed. They're claiming it's false.
Oh yeah, so they do that in the right wing all the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And you're gonna hear a lot of crazy conspiracy theories on this, that, and the other. But just stand by for all the information you can get here on KPFT, because you know it's going to be bona fide, checked, and then presented. So that's my 2 cents.
Exactly. All right. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for looking that up, my brother. Let's go to Patrick.
I wanted to respond to Bart and maybe help the two of y'all out. And I might be completely wrong, and I also might have some sort of filter up for Kamala, but she wasn't saying things like they're going after white jobs or she wasn't making racist statements that I remember, and she wasn't really making race as much.
You nailed it. Exactly. You're correct. 100%.
So if Trump wasn't doing that, then we could say that a white person voting for Trump wasn't being racist. But the fact that he was making a lot of racist statements, and the fact that he was making the presidential race about race, makes those choices racist.
And I think you're right. And I think I alluded to some of that, Brother Patrick, when I also spoke about the gradation of value in people. I mean, people vote their interests first and foremost, right? And so, I mean, what he did is exactly that, right? With what you just said, he went ahead and he said, hey, you have to do this because, but Patrick, as usual, you always have something smart to say. Thank you so kindly. I want to jump to Augie, but I have to finish in time to play this video. So thank you, brother.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Okay, Augie, can you be quick for me, my dear brother, because I need to play this audio and video.
All right. Yeah, good morning to you geniuses, Laurel and Hardy and their sidekick, Egberto. There was a black woman that ran the Underground Railroad in the Civil War. There was a black woman that rode a bus and she made changes. And no matter what you think about Biden and Harris, they're good people. Trump, I don't know why people vote for him. He's a bad guy. He's a racist. He was a crook. He's a convicted felon. The Nazis, they paraded after he won. And if you don't think the Nazis and the KKK are racist, but they go with Trump, and you go along with them, I think that makes you a racist. If the Nazis and the KKK and all these other groups, hate groups, are with this guy, there's a reason they're with that guy. And it's right there in front of you. People, you have eyes to see, ears to hear, and a brain to think. But you're not even seeing that part, that the racists are with Trump. But that's about it.
Thank you very much, Augie. Thank you for calling, and thank you for always being a great supporter of Politics Done Right, my brother. Thank you. You have a good day. All right, folks. I want to play this from our good friend, of progressivity, El Señor Mondale Robinson.
Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Today, I'm honored to have Mondale Robinson. He is the mayor of Enfield, North Carolina. He revolutionized a town, and he's also a leader of the Black Male Voter Project. Got it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the reason I really wanted to talk to you is that today on my radio show on KPFT, Pacifica Network, one of the callers said, do you know Mondale? I mean, there's an issue between Mondale and TYT Network. And I'm like, I keep aware of everything that's going on. I hadn't heard about it. And then I said, I'll find out, and I'll go find Mondale, because if Mondale has an issue, I want to hear about it. So first of all, tell me about your relationship with TYT Network.
So with TYT, up until yesterday, well, actually for me, Monday, I was an official, contributor. I am one of the originals for Rebel HQ. We helped get TYT's second large money source, over 1 million subscribers. I was averaging about 30 million views a year over there creating content. Plus, I also co-hosted their news shows with their lead host, or whenever the hosts were out, I would fill in for those hosts on the main show, on John's show, on TYT with JR.
With Jake and Anna.
And of course, also with Rashad Ritchie and Sharon Reed. So I was on the network, both on both platforms, the TYT News platform, and also on the contributing side through Rebel HQ content creation. So I was a paid contributor up until Monday for me, but Tuesday when they officially responded and they said they hear me and they accept my resignation.
So they just they just went ahead and said, after you came, first of all, let's hear what you did. You came on live, and right out of the blue, you said, I can't do this anymore. This is going to be my last show at TYT. Explain why you did that.
So what happened was I said I would no longer do any more content for TYT. Not only would I no longer host shows or show up as a guest contributor, but I'm no longer creating content. And that's not because of any of the show hosts or at all. It's because of what I see the head of the organization, that's Jink and also Anna, turning towards MAGA. And also, normalizing this idea that Donald Trump and his followers are not racist or not threats to Black people. And I don't care what the outcome of this past election is, for me to see someone who has garnered over 1 billion views from the progressive community, people who have made so much money off the backs and thoughts of Black and white conservatives. Progressives. I felt like that was a disservice for who we are in a moment where we need progressive news, where we need progressive outlets to be as strong as possible to charge up the Donald Trump administration. I didn't see Chink and Anna taking a stance to say that they were ready to do that. What I saw them do was trying to remain relevant with conservative media. Anna doing interviews with Glenn Beck, Jink showing up on Piers Morgan and other places and talking about maybe these people aren't as conservative as everything, or maybe they're going to save democracy. And then I seen Anna take it a step further when she started calling us religious zealots. People on the left were being compared to religious zealots. And that to me was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I could not in good conscience continue to take a paycheck from this network. So I said, I'll walk away from all this money. I'll walk away from 30 million views a year if I need to, because I'm not willing to sell out what my progressive values are. And I see them chasing checks versus chasing the truth.
So, I mean, when they went out of their way to speak to Glenn Beck and others, did they put those clips on the TYT Network's platform?
And that's a part of the problem. And I think people on TYT Network may not have seen this ideology, because what we're really seeing is on Twitter, you're showing up as a different person. Jink, Anna saying, things that some people are confusing, or not even confusing, conflating with transphobia. Anna is being more conservative, calling us zealots on the left. And then, like I said, cozying up with Glenn Beck. And none of this is popping up as content on TYT. This is content on other platforms. So that they looking more mainstream on other platforms, but on the platforms where people are paying subscriptions, where people are spending their progressive time with media outlets, they're showing up as a different people, a different entity. And I can't take that. That to me seems fraudulent.
Well, actually, it is fraudulent if what you're trying to do is normalize both MAGA and normalize Trump, because, again, it goes against everything that progressives are supposed to believe in. And for a network that used to preach that MSNBC was the pariah because they were too close to neoliberalism, it's hard to see then how you can approach MAGA and somehow believe that it's interesting, because this has happened to many of our progressive folks when they, instead of chasing their values, they decide to, and we're assuming that these may be chasing clicks from elsewhere or trying to normalize yourself now that we have a new power in Washington. Your thoughts?
I mean, for me, regardless if the motive is money or whatever the motive is to remain relevant, the idea to be progressive, it is never about relevance. It's about moving people further, making sure the least amongst us are getting closer to equity in our line, in our work. And I don't see that right now. So I don't care if their motive is money, because it doesn't bother me. What I do see is a week before the election, you were ready to call Donald Trump people fascists, and you was calling Trump a fascist. Now, all of a sudden, the election outcome didn't turn out a way that we were seeking, and now you're normalizing what you just called the fascists. You have been charging up the Biden administration or liberal administrations or neoliberal administrations since you came on air, and now you can't have the gall to do the same thing with the Republican administration just because they said they're going to weaponize the FBI. I'd be damned if you get to run when things get hard and then stand when it's easy. I'm not okay with that. And for those reasons, I walked away from the money and also the platform.
Now, I want you to address something, because there's an issue with liberals. Let me see how to put this. There are some people, I want you to explain this. There are some people who can actually play in both domains, but some who would never have the ability to play in both domains. Explain that some.
Well, I mean, it's as simple as American, right? It's as old as American. It's as white as America, right? And because what you're saying is white people get to play politics. Black people die from politics. So those who get to play in both domains and without any repercussions, they're usually white people. And I mean, we could dress it up, or they're so close to white, the proximity is dangerous. And I think that to me is not okay. I don't ever think for me that there's a true progressive that can play in both spaces. You cannot be progressive if you don't stand on certain principles. The idea that you're willing to normalize people that say that Black people are from S-hole countries, that we root from there. People that when Black people say Black lives matter, they say blue lives matter. What are we talking about, Smurfs? No, what you're saying is that the ideal of American police is as important as the death of Blackness. And I can't stand for that. And I'm telling people right now, we as the progressives have to put a stake in the mud and say, we will not subscribe. We will not send millions of dollars. We will not send billions of views to a network that is willing to be cozying up with Glenn Beck, who was the MAGA before there was MAGA, right? Glenn Beck was Trump before Trump was on the political scene. And I mean, he was so far right that he had to be fired from Fox. Think about that. Think about the lies and the shenanigans that Fox is guilty of, that they allow on their air. and Glenn Beck can't be on their air. So to see that what we're calling the vanguard of progressive networks over there playing games with people's lives, because that's what it is. This is not hyperbole. Keep in mind that I still get death threats, right? I've not spent a night in this town that I'm in right now in 2 years since I tore down a Confederate monument. So to see Jink and Anna cozy up to these same people who believe that Black people should not be so-called uppity and know their place, it's not comfortable for me. And I refuse to call those people progressives. So I don't know if there are progressives or people that can play on both sides. What I will say is with whiteness comes the ability to disappear from progressive policies when it's uncool.
You know, I actually saw the tears in your eyes when you just came out and said it. And I mean, it really hurts. Today on one of my programs, I pointed out to folks that, you know, when we look at even the election that did occur, what really hurt is how did the most competent person, somebody who was competent, eloquent, somebody who had no issues, no legal issues, how could that person lose against Donald Trump? And it speaks to who America is. Explain that someone.
Yeah, I mean, listen. If you understand what America is and what Donald Trump was able to do, this is not a new thing, right? This is the white Southern strategy replayed and remixed for the 21st century. All we saw was Donald Trump doing exactly what Lee Atwater said: invoke fear in white people about the threat to their superiority, and you will have a base that is unmatched. And what we saw, white people right now as a population, they're dying off. They're dying faster than they're being born. But what we saw Donald Trump was able to do was he was able to increase white people's percentage of the electorate, even as their percentage of the population gets smaller. That happens when the narrative is on the right from Donald Trump and his people that whiteness is being threatened by America's migrant or people other than. When you otherize people to the point that white people become afraid, then you see them showing up for Donald Trump in the way that they did. The problem is on our side, on the left, we weren't talking about issues that motivated people. We weren't talking about how we bring trades back to school so that Black men don't have to suffer through the microaggressions in workspaces. We weren't talking about how we're going to increase people's life. Black men have the shortest lives of anybody, not just in America, but in 157 out of the 190 so countries in this world. You have to go to places like Afghanistan to find people with shorter lives. We weren't talking about how we were going to address not qualified immunity. Donald Trump is talking about full immunity. So we have to be honest about all of that and what it means to be on the left and how we fail epically at reaching our base.
It is said that we're still fighting this battle. So where do we go from here? I mean, TYT was one of the largest progressive networks, and pretty much they've called it in. I know they have a whole lot of other programs that they run. There are all any of these other programs making decisions right now, or what's going on?
Yeah, you know, I don't know the state of what these other programs are going to do. I do have people that I love and built relationships. Dr. Richie, Sharon, some of the producers over there, some other people that I truly care about. But I can't, in good conscience, support a network, because what happens when Jink and Anna start saying that you cannot be on air, contradicting what we're saying, and I don't know what that looks like, and I don't want to be around for it. So I do know that people left before me, and people will continue to leave because they're true progressives over there, and we see something that is extremely dark happening right now.
That is, give me a closer, Mondale. I mean, this is sad. I had to talk to you, and I really wanted to talk to you today because I want folks at Pacifica Network to hear what's going on. But you know what? Before you answer, I want to let you know that you always have a home at Politics Done Right. You always have a home on Pacifica Network, KPFT 90.1 FM, Houston, and everywhere else. So give me a closer.
Yeah, listen, in closing, here's what I can say. We're not progressive if we're only progressive when the left is in power. It is time to be progressive and progressive out loud when we are out of power. This is when we can demand the most, and we should demand the most, not just of the left, but also of the right. And what I'm seeing right now is I see a cracking in our progressive infrastructure, in that people are willing to be more liked, retweeted and subtweeted than they are about standing on principle. And I can't do that. Mondale Robinson, Mayor of Enfield, founder of Black Male Voter Project.
Thank you so kindly, Mondale.
Okay,
Keep
brother.
up the good work.
All right. Peace, man.
Okay, that was Mondale, and that was the issue with, it's not only TYT, it's the idea that Mika Brzezinski and
Joe Scarborough went almost with their tails between their legs to bail homage to Donald Trump. The truth of the matter is, even as Donald Trump won the election, he should be, for those in the know, he should be treated for the scourge that he is, for those who know the scourge that he is. We can excuse those that don't quite understand the clear and present danger that he represents. But when it comes to those in the know, when you appease that sort of behavior, when you appease that kind of morality, when you appease that kind of evil, what you're doing is you're ensuring that that evil can continue. Let's go to Jeff. Come on in, Jeff. Brother Jeff, on the air.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am fine. Talk to me, my brother.
Okay. I've got something I want to say. I'm kind of, and let me finish before you interrupt. If you don't interrupt me, let me just finish. It's a point I want to make. I'm glad Kamala didn't get elected. Let's look at, after the elections, all the money that was spent and wasted. I mean, with all the showboating going on and the money just squandered. Now, I wouldn't trust somebody with my money or the taxpayers' money that squandered that much money on, she should have managed her. If she can't manage her campaign, why should I trust her with the money?
Okay. Can I answer you? May I answer you now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, first of all, I take exception to you believing that just because you're going to disagree with me, I'm going to interrupt you. For all of you listening, I generally interrupt where I can find a pause to go ahead and not let you say too much so that biting off is not in that, makes it difficult to answer. I try to teach myself that. Okay. But secondly, I want to push back at you severely for this reason. Why does Kamala need to fit a different profile than Donald Trump's spending? Listen to what you just said. Why would you trust her when she blew $1.2 billion? By the way, I agree with you. She blew $1.2 billion. That money didn't go to the grassroots where it would have been much more effective. So you're correct about that. But how somebody spends money, sometimes they have their theories, and her theory of spending money was wrong. But what made you believe that because Donald Trump spent 300 something of his own of the people's money, that's all he could collect, that somehow he spent less than her? That's not what occurred in reality. What occurred in reality is Elon Musk by himself bought Donald Trump by spending over $250 million of his own money. And we can go from billionaire to billionaire. And when you add all of that up, it costed more than $1.2 billion. And guess what? That just bought him a win that was only 1.6% greater than Kamala and not even 50% of the popular vote. If that isn't mismanagement, I don't know what is. But let's go a little bit further, my dear brother Jeff. Let's look at what he did when he was in power. And when he was in power, he boomed the deficit larger than any other president, bar none. And I'm not including COVID with it, which is what they always like to use. The tax cut that he gave, plus much other things. And, it's not me, a progressive left-winger saying that. It's Nikki Haley who points out that to everybody as well. The largest budget deficit ever by your guy. So it's proven that he is a mismanager. But what I always say, my dear brother Jeff, it is easy to look at that woman and paste on her your own prejudices, because Donald Trump has done many bad things. He has done many evil things. He has raped women. He has stolen money. He has gone down to bankruptcy 6 times. And she has never bankrupted. And you have the nerve to say that she's going to mismanage your money relative to Trump. That is what I call bias. And you have to ask yourself deep within your heart, why are you willing to believe that when we have the evidence that Donald Trump is a lousy business person, a terrible human being, and much worse? Answer real quickly, because I got to go to a whole bunch of calls in 5 minutes. Everybody gets 30 seconds.
Let me just answer. Let me give you a quick answer. A lot of when you bring up the Trump and his bankruptcy, that was in the private sector. I mean, you learn.
I gave sir. No, you're not going to get off with that. I gave you two things. I gave you his personal bankruptcies, and I gave you his largest deficit of any president in the country. Now answer that.
I'm not sure about the deficit. I don't want to.
Sir, it's not up for debate.
Right or wrong,
sir, Jeff.
I want to look
it's not up. Jeff. It's not up for debate. Those are the numbers. Now take those numbers as fact. How would you answer that, given that you were willing to say that that our friend Kamala Harris is a mismanager? Given what is a fact on Donald Trump, how do you answer that?
Well, I give you the answer of this: that I don't take anybody's word for it, so I'm going to look it up.
Well, I tell you what, call me when you have some facts, my dear brother. We'll talk later. Let's go to Betty real quick. Betty, come on in real quick, Betty, because I don't have a lot of time.
Okay, I will. Egberto, what is right. You're the father of politics done right. You call me out, and thank you. And Bart and Jeff, they're always looking for something juicy and not real. Somebody needs to sit them down and explain that the Florida Panhandle and the Texas Panhandle is not the same. Use your eyes and common sense. I'll smile no matter what. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Betty. Love you, girl. All right, let's go to Bruce real quick. Bruce, about 30 seconds.
Yeah, this should be quick. As far as Joe and Mika, they should. I know that they knew about Al Gore meeting with Trump, and then Trump coming out and denying climate change. I know they know about the fat governor of New Jersey sucking up to Trump, and Trump making him look ridiculous. So I think Joe and Mika went down there to get a free meal to see what Mar-a-Lago looks like, and then justify it by saying they were doing journalism. That's all. Bye.
Thank you very much, Bruce. You have a great day. All right, let's go to Derek. Derek, real quick, my brother.
Yeah, very quick. Jeff, don't take this the wrong way. I want you to really step back and look at this. You are definitely one of the functional illiterates of America. To say what you just said, look, let me tell you something. You want to talk about that Kamala Harris will mismanage the nation? Have you forgotten? This nation is $34 trillion in debt. Who in the hell you think created that?
Thank you.
Parties did. Come on,
Derek,
man.
Thank you, Derek. Very prescient statement. Thank you. Let's go to Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
All right. Jeff inspired me. The first thing I'd like to point out is that he knows how one candidate is going to do against the other as far as managing money, but he doesn't even know what the last candidate spending habits were.
It's funny. I know.
I believe I'm shooting from the hip here, but I believe he charged something along the lines of $50 million or $500 million to taxpayers for playing golf. So if he does that in return, he will spend what Kamala has spent on the entire campaign on golf. And this guy wants to tell me this guy's a responsible fiscal leader.
Thank you, Patrick.
You gotta be kidding me.
Thank you, Patrick. I got to go to Moses. Come on in, Moses.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning, sis.
Let's hear the end of the matter. There is a hook in the jaws of the people, causing them to make those kind of mistakes that they made with putting Donald Trump in power. And yes. America is now reviewing itself and seeing where it made the mistake, and the whole nation is ashamed. And I hope they have the courage to say we have made a mistake. And as we go forward, let us find a way to say no more.
Thank you, sis. Appreciate your words.
The second thing I'm going to say to end is when you have such callers as this man who comes in, and just
real quick, ask Moses.
Just ignorant. There's the thing the old people says: go away from a stupid man. When you see he's stupid, don't waste your words with him.
Thank you, sis. Appreciate you real quick. Hey, Tag, you got 30 seconds.
Berto. Yeah, just wanted to say the right wingers not listening to what Trump is saying now. He said that he can't guarantee prices are going to come down. He can't control inflation, and it's completely different than what he said during the election. So I think they need to listen up to what he's saying now. Thanks. I'll go. See ya.
Thank you, brother. Brian, give me 30 seconds.
Okay,
brother Brian?
Now, how about student? Yeah, I'm here. How about student debt forgiveness? Biden wanted $541 billion for student debt. Why didn't he roll this money over to medical relief? What's the difference? It would have been much, much better spent on medical forgiveness, not student debt.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm gonna have to answer it real quick. It is evident that neither you or Jeff understand how the government works. The way that Medicare works and Social Security works.
I'm not talking about Medicare. I'm not talking about Medicare. We're talking about debt.
My dear. Again, you can't do it that way. But anyway, let's go to the studio. Come on in, studio.
Well, that was a very interesting lightning round and a lesson to Jeff. If you're going to debate someone, be prepared with the facts. Jack, what you got, man?
I'm emotionally drained.
And yeah, we all are.
Oh, well,
take it home,
let me tell you. Yeah, I'm not emotionally drained, man. I love my peeps. And, let me tell you, you guys do a great job. All of us, both the callers and our studio, Howard and Jack, because what we do is, it's not about only the people who call and us discussing here. The amount of people that get stuff and really start to think about things they never thought about, that is what it's all about. Anyway, folks, the rest of the show is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations,